And that's the key. That's the key to connecting, is helping others understand the why.
Welcome to Beyond the CapEx, where we have real stories about mastering capital projects through leadership, vision, and execution.
Good afternoon, Christian.
Good afternoon, Luis. How are you today?
Great. We got a good topic today.
What are we talking about today?
Communication versus connecting. It's a
Communication
a
versus
crucial topic for project management, leadership, near and dear to my heart.
near and dear to your heart. Maybe we should start with that. What does this topic makes it so near and dear to you?
Well, as project leaders, we have to have effective communication styles. We develop charts, we develop KPIs, key performance indicators, lots of reports, but crucial part of gelling with a team is connecting with that team, buying trust, having the team understand what the mission is, believing in the mission. So, communication and connection are two very different things. They both depend on each other. You can't connect without communicating, but you can communicate without connecting.
100% agree. It's interesting that this is topic that we're talking. I was just talking with a business partner just an hour ago, and on a totally different subject, but that came out as something very relevant to the business as he's working as well. They do projects, but he was talking how often, in his case, it's more financial type of thing, but how often people tend to look at P&L, profit and loss statements, in all these analytics on paper, and they start making decisions like doing this and looking at what the numbers say and make this decision, but miss the big part of the big component of it, which is usually people. In his case, it's more of we're merging with this company, and then they get the efficiencies, like whack X amount of people here, there, but totally ignore the fact that how you do that, how you go about it, might have a cost component to it, but that is critical to have that person. And as you move through these decisions, how you do that makes a huge difference in the bottom line of and the way the business operates. So bringing that to a project context, I'll say it works pretty much the same way. Nonetheless, that connection, I think that component, the people, the human component, which is what connection is all about, leaving that out, it's like leaving a whole bunch of opportunity at the table, and not taking advantage of that in the positive sense.
Yeah, connecting is where you build trust and relationships. Communicating is, here's the information that you need, and connecting is more relational. It's I understand your concerns, I care about the outcomes, and let's solve this problem together. I've spent a big part of my career as an engineering manager, and in that highly technical field, it's very easy to get caught up in the here's what you need. Let's move forward with a decision. These are the facts. It's fairly black and white. But when you're asking a team or team members to think outside the box, they've got to understand, the why. Why are we doing what we're doing? You've got to connect with them and build trust and help them understand why we're doing what we're doing. And that's the key. That's the key to connecting, is helping others understand the why. So let's talk about, what are actionable steps to connect. Those are things like actively listening to your team members, and I find great value in that. It's amazing how you can obtain from someone who is not necessarily the subject matter expert in that field great ideas, because they're coming with a different perspective. And if you're willing to listen and actively listen, there are nuggets of great information out there to obtain from your team members. So give everyone a voice, listen to them, encourage them to be part of the process, to communicate.
The first thing that you mentioned there, active listening. I've been hearing active listening concept for years, and for years I ignored it, and then I pretended that I practiced it. And what I realized is very hard to listen actively. And hence is why a lot of people fail at doing it. Now, what is it really active listening, and why does it take? Why is it so hard to accomplish? And my take on that is that, and the research I've read a lot about this too. It's that most of the people, and including myself, the normal condition is that you're hearing someone talk, you're thinking about how to reply, what am I going to say, you just step ahead, as opposed as actually paying attention to what the person's saying. And there's so much valuable information in what people are saying that just gets missed because we're just not really active listening. In active listening being actually not just absorbing it, but like picking up on those cues that gives you the information that you may need to know to be able, say, for instance, to influence that person to do whatever that person needs to do. I'll tell you an actual example that happened to me not too long ago. We were facilitating a hazard study in actually up northeast of the country. And the facilitator that was there, he smoked. He was a smoker. No one else on the team smoked. And now I was leading the whole effort, right? And kind of I had control of the agenda, etc. At some point, the facilitator mentioned, "Oh, should we just take a quick break here, and we'll come back in 5 minutes or something like that. Maybe it's a good time to break." And I looked at how much it was left for that period of the session. I was like, man, maybe we can just push it another 10 minutes and be done with it and then take a real break. So I kind of pushed it a little bit. And then a senior member of the company with a lot more experience and wisdom, I will say, he comes, and I said wisdom because the way he did it was also the right way to do it, in my opinion. He came to me discreetly. He walked over me and kind of spoke in my ear and said, "Hey, Christian, maybe we should break, because the facilitator, he's a smoker, so he might just be in that real need of taking a puff, and maybe if we break now, he does that, he'll be much better at facilitating the rest of this sector." I was like, wow, so true. So he said that, and I didn't think about it much. I was like, you are right. And then I called the facilitator and said, maybe it was a misjudgment on my part, and I'm gonna defer to you, because I also didn't want to point out the fact that we thought it was because of that for any bad reason, but just trying to be on that good side of things and keep it going. It's like, I'm gonna defer to you. You're facilitating these. You're right. Maybe I was wrong, and let's just take the break, and all, and we'll probably be better off for it. And that's what we did. We took the break. He went out to smoke, and he didn't tell me that. The point is that the senior guy that was in the group was actually uh, was actually paying attention, was actively listening and picking up on those cues, the meanings behind the word. And what I'm suggesting here is that when you do that, you're able to pick up on the things that may not be directly related to what you're doing, but are directly influencing the outcome of what you're trying to accomplish. So in this case, he realized that smoking habit that might have been having an impact on the facilitator at that time. And the best way to move forward and get a better outcome was to, hey, let's take a break now, and we all be much better for it later on. And that was exactly what happened. He came back, and the rest of that portion of the study just went up so much better than 5 minutes before. So that's my point on that.
Today we're challenged. We've got great technology. It allows us to do meetings remotely. We've got hybrid work schedules, gives people more time with their families, but it does bring the challenges of one layer less of communication and connection. More importantly, connection. When we don't see each other's faces and each other's body language, we've removed a lot of information that helps us connect as humans. It's very challenging. At a minimum, I would say always when hosting discussions or doing events with anyone in the team, keep your cameras on and have a face-to-face connection. Really, we should not be eliminating the visuals. That's one of
So
our
good.
crutches today.
No, that's so good. And I love that you mentioned that. I had an experience with that. And couple of years ago. Some people have their different ideas on or philosophies for that matter on the use of cameras. But it's a well-known fact that about 60 to 70% of communication is body language. Then I think like another 20 is what you say, and the other 10, or maybe this doesn't add up to 100. But my point is that most of it is body language. The second part of it is what you said, and the third component of it is how you say it. And when we're remote, yeah, that camera, it's not as good as being in person, but it's as good as you're gonna get. When I was a couple of years ago, I was gonna lead a workshop, and this is during COVID, right? So people couldn't really be at the same place. We had people in Germany, we had people in Colombia, people in the U.S., all across the U.S. And as I was gonna lead it a few days earlier, one thing I noticed with these clients was that they tend to do their meetings with the cameras off, and maybe one or two people had their cameras, and everybody else had them off. I was like, there's no way I can lead a boring workshop, because this kind of workshop, was not like entertaining at all. It was very technical and all that. There's no way I can do this with the cameras off, and gonna lose so much people. So I had to work with the director at the time, and to figure out on the messaging and how we were gonna put this across to where we will require people to have the cameras on. We were successful in that. The way to that we did it was once being transparent, but also be sensible to it. So we took the angle of, and a legitimate angle for that matter, of cultural differences. And so we highlighted the fact of needing to have that visual to understanding whether people was following along, etc., and all the emotional part of it. And people bought into that, but we weren't demanding it. It was not an order. It was more of a request for a reason. And another point that I want to bring related to these, I was reading in a book a few years ago. There was actually a study performed, can't remember by which university, as to how to accomplish a few things, and they found out that just giving a reason, whatever the reason may be, improves your chances of people helping you by, I think it was a factor of 60, 70%. Don't quote me on that, but it was over 50%. It was very significant. And the study went, interestingly, it wasn't a photocopier at a university, and they had someone skipping the line and trying to make copies. And if they were getting, it's like, would you let me take a photocopy? And you're skipping a line of maybe 3, 5 people. Well, people will get upset. And the interesting fact was that what they found, it was it didn't have to be any meaningful. It didn't need to be like, oh, it's urgent or anything. They will go in and say, hey, would you mind if I just do a few photocopies, because I just need to do the photocopies? And just because they say I do need to, with a nonsense right after that, that still improved the chances by the same amount. So to that effect, that's kind of what we did. We just gave a legitimate reason. So going back to wrap this long monologue here, to your point, Luis, going as to the why communicating that why is so important, and to the extent that it may resonate with the people, the whole team will be better off.
Some of my best project experiences with engineers have been in constructability reviews. I find those to be some of the best sessions because engineers like to optimize and be efficient with their designs. When you sit down with a construction person to review concepts and ideas that engineering folks put forward, hearing a constructor explain why doing it that way is not the best way, and why these other reasons for configuring the design in a particular manner has a benefit from a constructability point of view. I think constructors, the construction lead industry, those guys are excellent. Those folks are excellent at giving you the why, and they're excellent at not only communicating, sharing the reasons why. Some of the best lessons I remember one of my engineering professors, his lesson was, if you can put it on paper, you might be able to build it. And I remember that lesson, and I've always taken that with me as I journeyed through this industry of project execution and engineering management and execution. Just because you've got ideas, consult with the people that have to live with it, obtain their buy-in, obtain their input. You share your whys, you understand and hear from them their whys, and at the end of the day, you get the right product, the better product, less mistakes, less rework. Everything we do succeeds because of effective buy-in. And that's where this topic of connecting comes into play. The buy-in, not just communicate what are we going to do, but how are we going to do it, and more importantly, why are we doing it, and why? What's your perspective? Let me hear your whys.
No, it's cool that you mentioned the buy-in portion because that's something that we hone in constantly too. People are resistant to change. It's just human nature, right? And it doesn't matter how big or small the change is. It's like, why are we doing this? And a lot of times they will have to do it because it's their job, because they have to, because they will get fired if they don't, for whatever reason. But for you as a leader, it's so much easier when you get their buying because now you don't have to pull or push anyone, or you don't have to invest as much energy into getting people to do anything. Once they're buying, they'll do it on their own because of whatever reason made them buy in the first place. One of the things I learned with one of my former bosses, that I hold in very high regard, shout out to him, Mr. Mark. He had this thing that he kept talking and honing about, like the change averse, change neutral, and change promoters, something to that effect. It was, and he gave me a good advice that I never forget. Said that you always get the resistant person, like the one that's like leading the charge against the change, etc. It was like, instead of beating that person up with like force and authority, you just bring them in, hear them out, hear their ideas. For all you know, he may have an even better idea on how to do the thing. But regardless what you do, put your effort in turning that person into a believer. It's like, once they buy in, they'll use that very, very same energy to bring everybody else in. And I experienced that firsthand with him leading that charge. And then eventually, years later, I was in a situation where I applied it. And that's what I will advise anyone. Just get people to buy in. And the way you make them buy in is listening to them, actively listening to them, because they will complain, they will start saying a whole bunch of things, but within that complaint, there will be those nuggets that you will only pick up if you are actively listening. And then you can use those nuggets of information to then give them what they're really looking for, which for X or Y reason they might not be telling you directly, and then you'll be better served. So that's what I will say in
Well,
regards to
I
that.
hope we've connected with our audience and not just communicated. We're passionate about what we do. We love project execution. It all starts with having methodologies, being organized, communicating effectively, but we succeed at building project teams because we build connections. That's the key to a project succeeding.
I'll say I tend to speak very passionate about these things, but yeah, but to the extent that we create that connection, and that's what we generally do with the people that we serve. We try to create that connection, and at the end of the day, we're all better served for that.
Question. This was a cool topic. I hope we connected with our audience today.
Hope so. If let us know in the comments and whether that was good enough for connecting or not, or if you got any other suggestion for connecting, we'll more than happy to hear from our audience what they think about these or any other ideas. We're always learning. So
Yeah, we'd
if you
love to
enjoy
hear.
these,
We'd love to
That-
hear topics, ideas, and topics that our listeners want to bring forward. Let's connect.
let's connect. Yes, yes. All right. So with that said, thank you all.
Happy connection.
Happy connections.
Since you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the episode, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too.